Hi there, I'm back and what's this? New sound? A new sounding voice? Could it be? I have a new microphone! Yay! Okay, jokes aside, for the time you'll be hearing this, I'll be back from Barcelona. Actually, I'm recording this right before I'm departing, but you'll be hearing all this once I come back because I'll be posting the video it's attached from after I come back. So yeah, basically with that out of the way, yes, I have a new microphone, and the following video is basically going to be a ginormous test field for this new microphone of mine, which is a T-Bone, by the way. It's a professional, super serious sounding one. Not to mention a bit saucy named, but anyway. So, what did I decide to do to start things off this year? Nothing very spectacular, really. I just decided to retrieve one of my old scripts. The scripts for my very first Fanfiction R&R video, which you might know as that one show in which I review fanfictions that has become completely filled with pony fanfictions. Well, I cannot help it. I mean, some of the best works of literature I found in years happen to be pony fanfictions. Can you blame me? Oh, in fact, I should tell you right now, I have a new episode of Fanfiction R&R in the works at the moment. More or less. You will see it sooner than later, hopefully. But about this particular episode, this, as I said, was my very first attempt at a fanfiction review. As such, the script isn't particularly brilliant. In fact, the majority of it all is filled with me trying to dramatically read the fanfiction in question, which is an Adventure Time one-shot. So, yes, that's basically it. This is all going to be one big, approximately 20 minutes long test field for my new microphone, in which I reread and re-recorded myself, saying the lines from that old script and basically remaking that old episode of mine anew, so that I can show it to you. This is how Fanfiction R&R began, and how appropriate that this new beginning is actually occurring with this new beautiful equipment that I happen to have right now. I think I've talked too much, so I'll let you enjoy this episode if you can. And I'm still trying to adjust the right distance from my mouth and the microphone and everything. So if it's a bit defective or a bit too much loud at some point or the other, please let me know. I'll do all I can to fix the mistakes in future videos. And with that all said, finally, we cut to the episode. Well, enjoy, I guess. Oh, and before that, I'll be releasing some top 10 lists along the way. You know, something like the top 10 best animated series of 2013. Probably even a top 10 films of 2013. But we'll get there when we get there. For now... Sorry, I burped. For now, this is Fanfiction R&R, The Aftermath. Why are you still here? Hello there, I'm Madhog, thy master. Having received a film critic education, I've always tried to implement my knowledge into the analysis of several other forms of media, from anime to video games to cartoons to hentai tentacle rape pornography. Yes, I would basically review anything for food. In any case, my personal policy is to have an open mind towards things which allow to delve without hesitation in territories I would have never crossed otherwise. So I decided to challenge myself and review fanfictions. Today's amateur piece of mind-bending buffoonery is actually an Adventure Time one-shot. The reason why I chose this one is because this isn't your normal Adventure Time fanfic. It's a crossover with a certain other show that I won't reveal to you just yet for the sake of the epic twist towards the end. Without any further ado, let's delve into it. This is The Aftermath by Kyrie Taylor. Very rarely did anyone ever make a request of Marceline, especially Princess Bubblegum. For those who knew the two, this was not that surprising. The parrot was best described as a frosty friendship, and it was only because of Finn that the two managed to speak to one another on relatively good terms. However, for Princess Bubblegum to request that Marceline come to her palace in the Candy Kingdom ASAP, it would have to be because of something extremely dire. And she was asked to bring her hairstyling kit as well. That could only spell severe trouble. It would also mean that something must have befallen her royal stylists. So, with her kit in hand, Marceline went off to the Candy Kingdom to see what the situation was. It was not often that Marceline visited the aforementioned area that the candy people of Oo lived, but when she did, she took mental notes of the state of the city and the day-to-day routines of the inhabitants within. She was quite surprised at how the people maintained their home, despite not being particularly bright. But as she arrived, she had to whistle. The city had a doozy of a mess to clean up. To best describe the state of the city right now, trying to imagine the happiest, most jolly and cheerful place on earth. Now, take that image and combine it with the image of the Tasmanian devil running rampant, hopped up on Red Bull, and utterly bent on devouring anything that did and did not move, breathe, exist. The Candy Kingdom looked 10 times worse. The buildings that the candy people lived in were in a complete state of disarray and disrepair. Those buildings that didn't collapse or were completely razed had huge holes in them, as if they were bitten into by a large beast. The roads themselves, made of peanut brittle of all things, had humongous holes dotting the landscape, and as she scanned the areas while she walked, she could see lying around on the ground parts. Arms, legs, and God only knows what else lay strewn on the ground, as if they were freshly spat out of a wood chipper. Some of these limbs looked partially chewed through, as if something had paused to gnaw at them. There were various streaks of multicolored something lining the streets and walls. Stopping at one point, Marceline stopped to notice that there was a puddle of some dark red liquid with a brownish hand floating in the middle. Stooping, she dipped a finger in it and tasted it. Tastes like sherry, she concluded. What are you doing? Marceline turned to see who the terrified voice belonged to. It was apparently one of the candy people, a donut to be precise. Well, to be more direct, a frosted sugar donut person. But you couldn't really tell it was a frosted sugar donut person because 75% of the frosting was licked clean off. Sorry, I was just seeing what this stuff was. I'm kinda attracted to the color red, you know, Marceline explained. But that used to be my wife! Well, no sense letting her go to waste. What happened here anyway? It was so horrible. It came out of nowhere, eating everything it could grasp. And then it started licking me. I tried to get it off, but it wouldn't get off. And then Cherry, oh my stars, Cherry! She was devoured almost in one gulp. And it was at this moment, at the height of his fear, Mr. Donut exploded in a massive jelly-filled display. As everyone knows, candy people tend to explode at the apex of their heightened torment. Which was weird to Marceline. After all, donuts are pastries, not candy, and they should not really have the same afflictions as, say, a person made out of lollipops, but that was besides the point of the tale. Or is it? I mean, perhaps many of the casualties that Marceline encountered were not from whatever it was that decimated the populace of the Candy Kingdom, but their own unique biological function brought on by excessive emotional trauma. However, I think I will leave the writing of a dissertation on the biological and psychological functions of candy-human hybrids to other more efficient people. Also, I'll be accused of padding the story out if I don't get on with it. The candy people that now walked the streets looked as if they had been in a war movie directed by Steven Spielberg. Most were missing limbs or in the process of having them removed painfully by a doctor.
Afternoon. I'm Dr. Lollipop.
One person, a bonbon, walked by, a large bandage covering his eye, and examined an arm, then tossed it aside, holding on to the vain hope his missing appendage could be found. Some of them were missing off their bodies, as Marceline looked on to see ice cream cones apply tourniquets to a cupcake who was leaking heavily. Looked like orange cream filling from her vantage point. One of the servants of Princess Bubblegum approached her. "Excuse me, Marceline, I take it?" "Yeah, that's me. What can I do for you, shorty?" "The princess is right over here. Please bring the hair kit." There were many sights that Marceline was used to throughout their travels in the land of Oo. What she saw as she ventured into the tent where Princess Bubblegum was located was something she would have a hard time unseeing. The princess was seated in a chair, her arms crossed. A look of absolute anger was across her face. The look was there for a good reason. Half of her hair was its usual length. The other half was short. Real short. Shoulder length, to be precise. BB? You look kind of short-handed, Marceline quipped out. Princess Bubblegum narrowed her eyes. "Yes, I'm using, I know. Look, I need to have this fixed right now. Can you do it?" "Looks tough, but I've had worse experiences. Believe me, grooming a werewolf is no easy feat," Marceline said as she set her kit down. "I am curious about what happened to your oh-so-perfect hair, however." "It's not something I want to discuss about now," Bubblegum growled underneath her teeth. "But rest assured, if I ever find the creature that did this to me, I will make it pay. Oh yes, it will pay. I will do things that will make it scream for the quick release of death. I will wear its hide as a pajama top. Its skull will adorn the gates of my palace as a warning to any who—" "Okay, settle down there, girl," Marceline said as she set the angry monarch back down. "I can't work my magic if the subject is making death threats." Even Marceline knew that when Princess Bubblegum was angered, she was not exactly the most reasonable of people to deal with. "Okay, that takes care of that. I think this is the modest improvement." Princess Bubblegum looked at her job that Marceline complete. She had to cut her hair short and tie it with a ponytails, but for the most part it wasn't even cut. "Yes, I love this look," Bubblegum smiled. "I wonder why I haven't tried it before." "I don't think twin ponytails with that length of hair would really look that good," Marceline observed. "But that's just me talking. I am curious about what the hell happened here anyway. Last thing I expected to see was a city filled with candy people, body parts everywhere. It was a complete and utter disaster, that's all I can tell you," Princess Bubblegum sighed. "And hopefully Finn and Jake have completed their task. But before I explain to you what happened, I need to check out on Peppermint Butler." "All minty? What happened to him?" "I think I should warn you. He's not exactly in one piece." In a clean room within the palace on a bed laid Peppermint Butler, or rather, what was left of him. A quarter of his body remained for all to see, hooked up on an IV. Only one eye and mouth were left. "Oh, Princess Bubblegum, I see you switched hairstyles. Quite a good look on you," Peppermint Butler said, trying to maintain some sort of calm. "Thanks. I do think next time I should go for a twin bun approach." "Wow, this looks bad. How are you even able to talk in this condition?" "Oh, I'll manage," My body should be able to regenerate itself in a day or 3. Princess Bubblegum sighed and said, he was the first to arrive on the scene earlier today. We heard that something was attacking people in the Lockham bakery, so I sent him ahead to investigate. I arrived and the place was in shambles, Butler continued, and everywhere I looked, the food was either devoured or partially eaten. Whoever was in there had the misfortune of being devoured themselves as far as I could tell. That's when I felt it. Licking me. It was licking you? Yes, apparently it had a taste for peppermint. Before I knew it, it took one huge bite and, well, you see the result. Wow, Marceline whistled. This thing sounds like a beast. I came just in time to save Peppermint Butler from being completely eaten, said Bubblegum. But it started sniffing my hair and then began to chew on it. If it wasn't for Finn and Jake, I don't know what I would have done. At this moment, Finn and Jake, the usual saviors of the Candy Kingdom, and by extension Ooh itself, entered the room. Okay, mission accomplished, Jake crowed. So if no one minds, I'm gonna check out on my gal Ladycorn and see if she's not completely traumatized by the massacre. Good, you're back, Bubblegum smiled. Please, tell me you brought back that horrible creature's head on a pike, or that it died a slow, painful and agonizing death by the blade you have. The eager grin at the door in her face as she asked Finn was unsettling. Yeah, sorry, I couldn't exactly do that, Finn said, since it went back home to wherever it came from, but I don't think it was confused. She was just so happy. And hungry, you forgot hungry, Jake added. It ate almost all of the citizens of Candy Kingdom and the landscape itself. We are beyond hungry, Bubblegum pointed out. We still haven't figured out just how many candy people are accounted for. I know one thing. You can forget about ever worrying about the ice cream tavern. It got everyone there, even the ice cream bartender, Finn said. Damn, I always did like the cherry shakes he had, Marceline sighed. It's going to take months to rebuild the damage to the castle alone. The city itself may take longer. We'll have to do a hasty memorial service with whatever we can recover, Bubblegum said as she sat down. And that's not even factoring in the intense psychological conditioning and cloning that needs to be done. It's a good thing I had all the citizens donate their DNA after the zombie incident. Plus, we don't know how many were swallowed whole, Jake said, wincing as he recalled the fate of the Gundrop twins. Couldn't anyone catch this creature? No, it was like it knew what we were gonna do even before we can do it, Finn told Marceline. We tried dropping things on it, we tried nets and snares, but at every last second the creature managed to avoid our best efforts. It's as if it had a sixth sense or something. Marceline, are you familiar with any creature like this? Finn asked the vampire queen. Rubbing her chin, she mused. Well, there are a lot of creatures with huge appetites. I need some sort of description, like any strange marks, unusual appendages, or that kind of thing. Well, it was pink. It had a poofy mane. Oh, and its right and left flanks, there was a picture of balloons. This is a new one for me. I don't think I've ever heard of a creature like this. How fast did it run? I don't know if it ever did run, Jake said. It just hoped a lot, and I swear I thought I outran it, but when I turned around, it was behind me smiling. Why were you running from it? Bubblegum asked. I had a bowl of strawberry shortcake in my hands. Why were you holding a plate of strawberry shortcake? I thought about using it as a bait in a net, but as soon as I stepped outside the bakery, BAM! There it was bearing down on me, screaming, hands off the dessert, Pudgy! And that was just mean. I'm not Pudgy, am I? We'll talk about your weight issues later, Marceline assured him. We managed to chase it away from the Candy Kingdom towards a portal of some kind, Finn said, and it just jumped in there. I don't think it will be back though, because I heard a voice say something about never letting her fool with a cross-dimensional spell again, and it looked like there was another being just like her. It sounds like whoever that creature was, she came here by accident. Bubblegum sighed. Very well, I guess we have to take solace in the fact that we won't have to worry about something like that ever coming here again. Me too, Finn said, 'cause I don't think anyone here can deal with the Pink Devourer. Twilight Sparkle looked down at her friend in annoyance. Pinkie Pie sat on the floor, licking the excess amounts of sugar, gel, and Celestia knows what else from her mouth and hooves with a contented smile. Pinkie, what have I told you about fooling around with that cross-dimensional spell? It's any pony's guess where that portal could have led you. It was fun! Pinkie beamed. It was an entire city made of candy. The streets were made of peanut brittle, the houses were graham crackers, and the water. Ooh, and you should have seen the other houses. At this point, Applejack and Rarity entered the room, both walking into a very odd conversation. I take it something mighty interesting happened while we were out, Applejack said. Yes, Pinkie Pie wandered into another dimension. I don't know what she did, but she was being chased by some odd creatures, some weird-looking orange dog and... What was Finn? A human? Yeah, a human something or the other with a funny white hood. A white hood? Sounds so drab, Rarity sighed. No, not really. Finn gave me one and said I could keep it if I would never ever come to the Land of Woo again. At this point, Pinkie Pie produced a hood, similar to the one Finn wore to the other ponies, which also had a candy person's hand still in it, partially eaten and with a small amount of drool on it. Pinkie? Applejack stated. Did some of the candy you ate walk and talk by any chance? Yeah. So, you ate living candy then, Applejack concluded. Well, I couldn't help it. They were all so yummy. Of course, all that screaming and yelling may have been a bit much, not to mention the ones that screamed when I swallowed them whole. Right. Rarity's sweat dropped and said to Twilight Sparkle, So Pinkie Pie may have just walked into another dimension and devoured a large percentage of the populace. No biggie. Applejack shook her head and told the others, I think it's just best we don't talk about this to anyone else. Bad enough that she did what she did, let's just keep this between us, like the incident with Rainbow Dash and that hedgehog. Agreed, Twilight Sparkle said, and let's not write about this to Princess Celestia. And so ends this rather pointless and emotionally draining crossover. The Candy Kingdom lost approximately 236,000 citizens that day, and forever cursed the appearance of the Pink Devourer in their land. Marceline would become Princess Bubblegum's personal hairstylist and do her hair in braids next, which was completely silly. Jake would later finish the strawberry shortcake and fuss about his weight. Pinkie Pie came down with a mild case of indigestion, while Twilight Sparkle mustered a spell that gave her the ability to see Big Macintosh in the shower whenever she wanted. But no one cares to know more about that. And what became of the Ice King, you asked? He tried to kidnap Princess Bubblegum in the ensuing chaos of Pinkie Pie's consumption of the candy people, but Pinkie Pie kicked him in the throat hard. But do not cry for him! Do not cry for him! The end. For fanfiction standards, this piece is relatively well written. Its otherwise solid structure only falls apart in one occasion, when the author addresses herself towards the end of the first paragraph, thus breaking the fourth wall in an uncohesive and jarring way. Aside from a few typos, the read was quite amusing, even downright funny at some points. All the characters act the way they are expected to act when faced with the conflict at hand, and the overall scenario is sadly believable. To be more specific, that's exactly what I think it would happen should the gluttonous Pinkie Pie ever find herself in a world filled with delicious candy people. I have a minor gripe towards the end when it's implied that Twilight Sparkle enjoys spying on Big Macintosh, but other than that, The Aftermath is one of the more harmless fanfictions out there. It can be enjoyed without guilt and, more importantly, it doesn't ruin either of the shows for their fans. And that's about it.
My name is Pinkie Pie. Hello, and I am here to say, how you doing? I'm gonna make you smile, and I will brighten up your day. It doesn't matter now what's up, if you are sad or blue. Happy, 'cause cheering up my friends is just what Pinkie's here.
Hey, it's me again. I'm still testing, as you might be hearing now. I hope you enjoyed it, and yes. I just wanted to add from the previous statement that even though I have a shiny new microphone and everything, as you heard by now, I still have so many videos from my pre cool microphone period, which was about until the end of 2013, that I have to release. Either on Bleep on YouTube. I have so many of those, and they won't sound as good as this just sounded, but still, I made those and I want to share them with you, and I think they're pretty good for what they are. So I'll keep posting them, and keep in mind they won't sound as good as this new microphone because they are older videos. So keep that in mind should you come across one such old classic of mine. And with that said, it's time for the catchphrase. This has been no, wait. It was more like this. Out of practice. Oh yes. This has been Madhog. And you've been listening to Fanfiction, Read and Review. Good night, my children of the net.